today possibly was the very best time. For over an hour, it was gold constantly. It was like Christmas forever. I enjoyed every second of it.
What if the most dangerous place in a river is also the one hiding the biggest fortune? Deep in Alaska's wild waters lies a stretch so violent, so unpredictable, that most miners won't even go near it. Freezing temperatures, crushing currents racing up to 50 miles per hour, and massive hidden boulders turn it into a deadly trap. One wrong move down there, and there's no second chance. For years, crews called it a lost cause, a dead zone where machines failed, divers got hurt, and entire operations collapsed. No one stayed long enough to uncover its secret, but Dustin Hurt wasn't like the others. He believed that beneath all that chaos, something massive was waiting, something powerful enough to change everything. So this season, his team made a bold move. They poured nearly $250,000 into a high-risk operation, building advanced dive systems, installing heavy-duty pumps, and setting up a powerful dredge. Every single day cost them up to $10,000 to keep running. It was a gamble most wouldn't take. And then, something started to happen. Within days, gold began showing up. Thick flakes pulled from 20 to 25 feet below the surface. The first cleanup alone revealed around 35 ounces, worth nearly $70,000. That's when everything shifted. Because this wasn't just random gold, it was a sign. As the days passed, the numbers kept climbing. 80 ounces, then over 120. Suddenly, experts began to believe this dive hole could be hiding thousands of ounces beneath it. If true, this small section of river could hold more than 10,000 ounces of gold, worth up to $23 million. But with every ounce recovered, the danger grew. The current could rip a diver off the riverbed in seconds. Massive rocks could shift without warning. And deep below, oxygen wasn't guaranteed. This wasn't just mining anymore. This was a fight for survival. So the real question is, how far would they go to reach what's hidden below? Because what they uncover next might be even bigger than anyone imagined. Subscribe now, because this story is only getting more intense. Deep in Alaska's rugged mountains flows a river that miners have both feared and chased for years. Hidden within it is that same deadly zone, the dive hole. From the surface, it looks like nothing more than a fast-moving stream, but below, it's a completely different world. The water temperature barely reaches 3 to 4 degrees Celsius, and the current can surge up to 40 miles per hour. Massive boulders rest on the riverbed, trapping gravel in between, creating deadly pockets that can pin a diver in seconds. That's why most miners stayed far away from this place. Several crews tried their luck here in the past, but none lasted long. Equipment failed, pumps were torn away. In one case, an entire dredging setup was flipped by the force of the current. Veteran miners claim this river has already caused millions in losses, earning it a reputation as a no-go zone across Alaska and even the Klondike. But Dustin Hurt saw things differently. He spent years analyzing the river, studying its flow patterns, the placement of boulders, and historical gold records. Slowly, a theory took shape. In fast-moving rivers like this, heavy gold doesn't just disappear. It gets forced downstream and trapped where large rocks create natural pockets. If his theory was right, this dive hole could be hiding thousands of ounces of gold. Dustin told his crew, the more dangerous the water, the more likely gold is trapped there. And if that hidden gold trap truly existed, this short stretch of river could hold over 10,000 ounces, worth between $20 to $23 million. But reaching it meant one thing, descending into a place where every single dive could turn deadly. That's where this high-risk mission truly begins, a journey that would turn this river into one of the most dangerous gold mining sites ever attempted. Once the deadly dive hole was confirmed, the crew faced the ultimate question. Do they actually go for it? This part of the Alaskan River had already taken lives. Powerful currents, slick boulders, and freezing water made it a constant threat. And stepping into it meant risking everything. All these challenges had already forced many crews to walk away. A few years back, one small operation lost more than $100,000 when powerful currents ripped away their entire dredge setup. So when Dustin Hurt proposed working this exact spot, several team members saw it as a huge risk. The meeting that followed was filled with tension. Some believed this place offered nothing but danger, not profit. With daily costs reaching $8,000 to $10,000, a few weeks without results could drain everything. And beyond the money, every single dive came with real danger to life. Many felt the decision was rushed, but Dustin saw it differently. He had spent years analyzing past data, studying river flow, rock formations, and gold patterns. His conclusion was simple. When fast-moving water crashes into large boulders, heavy materials like gold settle there. These spots often become natural traps over time. Dustin believed this deadly dive hole could be one of those places, a hidden pocket where gold had been collecting for years. That's when he said something that would define the entire mission. The richest gold is found in the most dangerous places. He was convinced that fear had kept others away, and that same fear might be hiding something massive. If he was right, this single location could hold thousands of ounces of gold, worth somewhere between $20 to $23 million. In the end, despite the risks, the team agreed to move forward. It wasn't an easy call, but if things worked out, it could become the biggest discovery of their lives. But choosing to mine, there was only the beginning. Setting up operations in that brutal stretch of river was a challenge on its own. This wasn't a normal mining site. The current was so aggressive that even small rocks could strike with dangerous force. Every piece of equipment had to be firmly secured to avoid being swept away. Dustin's team built a full dive system for the mission, investing around $250,000. They installed high-capacity pumps capable of moving thousands of gallons per minute, along with a powerful suction dredge to pull gravel and sediment from between the boulders. Divers were supported by a dedicated airline system for constant oxygen supply, along with specialized helmets, communication gear, and backup systems for safety. But all of this came at a cost. The initial setup alone ranged between $200,000 and $300,000. And once operations began, the expenses didn't slow down. Fuel, maintenance, diver support, and crew wages kept daily costs hovering around $8,000 to $10,000. This wasn't a small bet. If they failed to locate a rich gold layer, the entire budget could vanish in weeks. It was all or nothing, either a massive breakthrough or a costly failure. Still, Dustin never doubted the plan. He told his crew, "If there's a gold trap down there, this system will find it." Now, everything depended on what lay beneath that riverbed. When operations finally started, the pressure was intense. For the first few days, the team worked non-stop, pulling up tons of gravel and rock. But no one knew what they would find. Material was constantly dredged up, processed through the system, and sent into the sluice box. Everyone waited for the first real cleanup, the moment that would reveal the truth. On the third day, that moment came. As the sluice box was opened, something caught everyone's eye. Tiny shimmering particles mixed within the heavy black sand. At first, they looked like small flakes, but once cleaned, there was no doubt. It was gold, bright, unmistakable gold pulled straight from the riverbed. The first cleanup produced around 30 to 40 ounces, worth roughly $60,000 to $80,000. It wasn't a massive haul, but it was proof. Proof that the ground beneath them held gold. For the first time, the team began to believe Dustin might be right. If this much gold existed near the surface, there could be far more hidden deeper down. In places like this, gold can sit trapped for thousands of years beneath massive rocks, forming rich deposits over time. Looking back at that moment, Dustin said, "This is only the start. The real gold is still waiting below." Excitement spread quickly through the crew. Every new load of gravel brought fresh hope. It started to feel like they were standing right on top of something huge. And if that was true, this dangerous dive hole could soon turn into a multi-million-dollar discovery. But machines weren't the real heroes here. People were. Because in that deadly section of the river, every dive was a serious risk. From above, it looked like nothing more than fast-moving water. But below the surface, it was a completely different world. The current could feel as strong as 40 miles per hour, making even staying in place a struggle. Divers worked at depths of 20 to 30 feet, surrounded by massive boulders and heavy gravel, exactly where gold might be trapped, but also where danger was highest. There was always the risk of getting pinned, a foot caught between rocks, an airline snagged, and if a diver couldn't break free quickly, the current could take over. Oxygen was another constant concern. Divers relied on air supplied from above, but if a line got stuck or equipment failed, breathing could become a life-threatening problem within moments. That's why every dive required backup systems and constant monitoring. Even Dustin himself went down multiple times. He believed that to truly find the gold, you had to reach the bottom yourself. But with every descent, the danger increased. Strong currents could throw divers off balance. Loose rocks could shift without warning. One experienced diver summed it up perfectly. This isn't mining, it's a battle against nature. And still, day after day, the team kept going back into the water, because they knew something incredible might be hidden beneath those rocks. But the truth was simple. Every time a diver entered that hole, they weren't just searching for gold. They were risking their lives. At first, the gold they recovered was only a hint of what might be there. But as they dug deeper, everything began to change. Now the divers were finally reaching the true bottom, the areas hidden beneath massive boulders where dense gravel and black sand had settled over time. These are the exact conditions where real gold traps are formed, and the moment that material started coming up through the dredge, everything changed. The cleanup results shocked the entire crew. Within just a week, gold recovery began rising fast. What started as a few dozen ounces quickly turned into something much bigger. In a single week, they were pulling out between 80 to 120 ounces of gold, worth roughly $160,000 to $240,000 at the time. And that was just 1 week. For the first time, the team realized this wasn't a normal deposit. They were likely sitting on a major gold trap. Over the years, the river's powerful current had carried gold downstream and locked it beneath those huge boulders. Every bucket of gravel now revealed shining flakes, and even small nuggets. Dustin said it clearly. If this keeps going, this place could produce serious gold. The operation quickly shifted into high gear. Pumps ran non-stop. Divers stayed down longer. Day after day, massive amounts of material were pulled from the riverbed. It didn't take long to understand. This dive hole was something different. Something big was hidden beneath it. Many on the team began to believe they had found a section of river capable of holding thousands of ounces of gold. If the trend continued, this dangerous little spot could soon turn into a multi-million-dollar strike. But as the gold numbers climbed, a bigger question started to emerge. How could so much gold be concentrated in such a small area? It didn't seem like luck anymore. Geologists and experienced miners began studying the river more closely. And slowly, a powerful idea began to take shape, something they called the hidden gold trap theory. Gold is extremely heavy. As it travels from the mountains into rivers, strong currents carry it along for miles. But the moment it hits obstacles, large rocks, deep cracks, or dense gravel layers, it begins to settle. Over thousands of years, that process repeats again and again. Water keeps flowing, but the gold stays behind. And this dive hole had the perfect structure. The river suddenly dropped deeper at this point. Massive boulders were scattered across the bottom. Between them were cracks and pockets, ideal places for gold to get trapped and stay locked in place. Experts believed this natural formation could act like a giant gold collector. If it had been building for centuries, or even thousands of years, then the amount of gold stored there could be enormous. New gold washing down from the mountains each year would only add to it. That would explain everything. It would explain why such a small section of river was producing such massive results. Dustin had already suspected this. From the way the water moved to how the boulders were positioned, he believed something special was hidden there. And now it was starting to make sense. The team wasn't just mining a deposit. They were uncovering a place where gold had been building up for generations. And if they managed to fully expose that trap, this dive hole could easily become a multi-million-dollar gold site. But as the gold increased, so did the danger. This was never a normal mining operation. Every single day was a balance between reward and risk. From the outside, everything looked controlled. But in reality, one small failure could end everything. The first major threat was the equipment. The entire operation depended on powerful pumps, dredge systems, and suction lines. If even one of those failed, work would stop instantly. Strong currents constantly pushed rocks into the machinery, blocking pipes and damaging parts. If a pump shut down while divers were underwater, they would need to be brought up immediately. A major breakdown could cost thousands, even more, and put the entire mission at risk. But the biggest danger was always the divers. Working at the bottom among massive boulders was extremely difficult. Hoses and air lines could easily get tangled in tight spaces. If a diver got stuck and couldn't free themselves quickly, the current could overpower them. The fear of being trapped underwater was always there. And then there was the river itself. Alaska's weather can change fast. Heavy rain in the mountains can cause water levels to rise within hours. A sudden surge or flash flood could wipe out the entire operation in minutes. Machines gone, site abandoned. Dustin knew exactly what he was risking, but he also believed one thing. The biggest gold always comes with the biggest danger. That's why every decision had to be precise. One wrong move wouldn't just cost money, it could put lives at risk. As the gold totals kept climbing, the team became more convinced they were working over something major. Geologists and veteran miners began studying the recovery data from the first few weeks. Each cleanup showed a steady increase, suggesting that this wasn't just scattered gold. It pointed to a rich, concentrated layer below. When they calculated the weekly numbers, averaging 80 to 120 ounces, one thing became clear. They hadn't even reached the full deposit yet. If that deeper layer was still untouched, then a huge amount of gold could still be waiting. Some estimates suggested that this single dive hole might hold more than 10,000 ounces of gold. And if that turned out to be true, this dangerous stretch of river wouldn't just be a risky gamble anymore. It would become one of the most valuable gold discoveries they had ever seen. At the time, gold was valued around $2,200 to $2,300 per ounce, meaning the total potential here could climb to nearly $22 to $23 million. For such a small stretch of river, that kind of value was almost unbelievable. For Dustin Hurt and his crew, it sounded almost unreal. Whitewater mining is usually about small wins. Even recovering a few hundred ounces is considered a big achievement. But if these estimates turned out to be true, this operation wouldn't just be successful. It would completely redefine what's possible. Some experts even suggested that if the entire gold trap was fully uncovered, it could go down as the biggest find in whitewater gold mining history. But, at this stage, it was still just a theory. The only way to know for sure was to keep digging deeper, because somewhere beneath that riverbed, there might still be a layer capable of turning this dangerous dive hole into a $23 million treasure. By now, the steady flow of gold coming out of the dive hole had completely changed the team's mindset. What once felt like a risky experiment was starting to look like a serious breakthrough. With every cleanup, more flakes appeared, along with tiny nuggets. And that led to a new question. Had they already found the jackpot, or was this just the beginning? Dustin and his team had reached a layer where gold was clearly trapped between dense gravel and massive boulders. But in rivers like this, gold doesn't always sit in just one layer. Sometimes there's something even deeper. A second, richer layer, built up over thousands of years, could still be hiding below. Geologists believed that if the structure of this site was as perfect as it seemed, then the team hadn't fully uncovered the gold trap yet. Based on the data so far, estimates suggested over 10,000 ounces could be sitting in this dive hole, worth nearly $23 million. But if a deeper deposit existed, that number could be even higher, which meant one thing. Everything they had recovered so far might only be a small portion of what was really down there. Excitement across the team reached a new level, but so did caution, because the deeper they pushed, the more dangerous things became. The currents felt stronger, rocks shifted more often, and the strain on the equipment kept increasing day by day. Dustin once said something that now felt more real than ever. The greatest treasure is often hidden where people are most afraid to go. And now, that question hung over the entire operation. Was this deadly dive hole truly a $23 million gold strike? Or was it hiding something even bigger? Because sometimes the real treasure is the part no one has reached yet.